right, the countdown is on, and I'm not talking about New Year's Eve, although we hope that you all had a great Christmas. The countdown is on to a great New Year's Eve card right here in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's Junior Dos Santos and it's Cain Velasquez, the rematch. Of course, they fought on Fox. It was the first fight that they ever did on Fox. Lasted less than a minute, and it was shocking the way that it went down. And Junior Dos Santos really hasn't shown any weaknesses, since then. So it's the rematch, and it's a must-win for Cain, because if you don't win, you got fast-tracked right back, got the title shot again. Where do you go from there? Very, very intriguing storylines, pertaining to that fight. But let's start with Derek Brunson and Chris Lieben. Chris Lieben was talking about, his recent sobriety has helped him focus and train and stuff. And I don't want to call Chris Lieben a liar, but I don't believe him. At this stage of our lives, we don't change. I don't believe we change. And it's like Homer Simpson said, if we change, we quickly change back to what we were before we changed. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Chris Lieben is who he is. He's a tough-ass dude, and I think too much is put into it of, he's drinking too much, not training. It doesn't freaking matter. The guy's been fighting like this his entire career. Yeah. Sometimes sobriety is like Tiger Woods. You took the women and the porn stars and the crazy life away from Tiger Woods, he suddenly sucked. Yeah. He wasn't in his, it was the element anymore. So I hope Chris Lieben is living a happy and clean life. Gets Derek Brunson in this fight. Vamola's out, Brunson's in. Brunson's a tough kid, but I don't think he beats Lieben.
No, but there's no way he beats Lieben. No matter what Lieben we get, the clean Lieben, the dirty Lieben, meaning dirty, not steroids, but dirty Lieben meaning he's still on painkillers and drinking too much, he still beats him. It doesn't make a difference. Lieben's that tough. I trained with him when I was in Hawaii. At the same time I trained with Holloway, just different days, obviously different camps. Lieben is strong as hell, and it was the beginning of his training camp. I mean, just amazingly strong. I think Lieben is clean because it cost him so much money. He had to prove to the UFC that he was able to come back, so he had to go to rehab. And he put himself in rehab and paid that bill himself. So when you have to pay that bill yourself, there's a huge amount of money that you had to pay. I mean, I'm talking, 20, 30 grand he had to pay for this rehab department. And to prove it to the UFC that I'm worthy of being back and I want to get clean, please have me back. And no fights, no money coming in. So you're depleting that savings account with no money coming in on a shot of maybe coming back. He's clean. He's staying clean. You can see it in him now. He's still goofy. He's still Chris. He still, has the weird hair and the painted fingernails, and he's still kind of on the outside of the cusp of stuff, but he's like, I'm going spearfishing today. And he comes back, and he'll talk to you for 20 minutes about how neat it was down there running around the coral with a snorkel on going spearfishing. Like he's back to kind of the guy that I first met years and years ago before he got hooked on drinking and drugs and the whole bit. Now he's clean. I really do think he's clean. And if he snaps back, it happens to everybody. If he wants to step back, he'll step back. Yeah. But I think he's a better fighter for it because of it, and he wins this fight relatively easily.
All right, let's get to Alan Belcher and Yushin Okami. This is a rematch. That first fight was a while ago.
6 years ago. It was 6 years ago. It's two totally different guys.
Totally different guys.
Okami's a better competitor all the way around. Belcher's going to have to keep him way on the outside. Can't let Okami touch him. The moment that Okami touches him with a punch or a grab, it's going to the ground. And Okami's better. You got to remember, too, Belcher's been hurt a lot. Blew his eye out, was out for a year getting his eye fixed, had a fractured spine, was supposed to fight Vitor Belfort, but because of the 151 cancellation and everything getting shifted around, Belfort had to fight Anderson Silva, so he gets pulled out, gives him more time to heal from a spinal fracture that he had before that fight. So he hasn't fought.
This guy's in worse shape than Ray Elby.
He gets hurt all the time. Now, when it comes down to Okami's fought 3 times in the last year. Yes, 2 are TKO losses. Lost to Tim Boche, and then lost to Anderson Silva in the first round with TKO, but then he wins one. So he's 1 and 2 in the last year. But when it comes down to the other side, Belcher hasn't fought 1 time. He fought 1 time this entire year, and it was a TKO loss. So you're talking about Okami is at another level. He's just the upper echelon of the 85-pound division, and Belcher's not. And let's be honest, when you have a bad tattoo like that on your arm, Belcher just he can't win against a guy like Okami. It just shouldn't be allowed.
No, we should make Frank do the show without any shirtless ones.
Let's be honest.
You don't have any bad tattoos, right?
I'm pretty well covered.
All right.
This arm has no tattoo on it. Well, from here down, it's clean.
Let's get to Tim Boche and Konstantinos Philippou. This was one that surprised me as well, in which the odds makers opened up Philippou as the favorite.
As they should.
You believe that? I don't get it. I think that. I think Philippou is overrated.
Yep.
And I think Boche is underrated.
Yep.
Philippou looks good. He's ripped. He's got the muscles, and he goes for the knockout. So people like it. But if you look at the caliber of guys that he's fought, he hasn't fought in the same caliber of guys as Tim Bosch. Bosch knocked out Okami.
Knocked him unconscious after getting
Even
beat
though
up
it didn't
for 2
look
rounds.
like much of a punch. I had money on Okami. It seemed to kind of graze him, but
We got to remember, he grabbed him by the back of his head
that was the
and
thing. He
was pulling
pulled
him
him
down
into
as
the-
he's uppercutting him. And that's what made it.
And Boach beat Hector Lombard. Now, one thing I've noticed about Tim Boach, he seems to really be awkward. He's kind of in your face, hits you like before you can even set up, kind of. And I think awkward is the best description.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's kind of like a bully, right? Kind of, hey, pushing the guy around.
If you go to timboach.com and you look at his website, it asks you, what do you think is the best style that describes Tim Boach? And it'd be like wrestling, boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, judo. Like, what do you think is the best style? And you pick whatever style you think is right, and then go look at the results. It's wrestling and then boxing. Most people think, like a lot of people think he's a boxer by trade. Now that he's a wrestler. He's actually a wrestler. He wrestled Division I in college. He has a degree. This guy went to school specifically to be a wrestler. He is a great college, not a great, let me tell you that. He's a good college wrestler. He used it very well in MMA. He understands the position change and the grind. He also understands how to get beat up a little bit and how to come back from deficits. Okami is beating him up for 2 rounds. He comes back from behind. Philippou is that guy that walks out there, bam, bam, fights over. Bam, bam, fights over. Tim is one of those guys, he grinds you, bang, now the fight's over.
I don't think Philippou's going to like that.
Not at all. The bookmakers made Philippou the favorite because that's where the betting public's going to go first. They're going to bet on him first. Boach should win this fight, though. The reality of it is that Boach doesn't look as pretty when he fights, but he wins fights against tougher competition. I really think Boach wins this fight. I think Philippou is up for a serious awakening. Now, give Philippou all the props in the world. He's a great brawler. He's the only UFC fighter from Cyprus. He's a huge contingency trying to follow him now because of that. The Middle Eastern cultures are trying to follow behind him, which gives him a lot of props, a lot of fans. But let's be honest, this is a big step up in game planning for him, for Philippou, because Tim Boach comes in with a game that even if he's punching you, he'll eventually take you down and ground and pound you out. If you can't do it that way, when you hit him hard, he'll still take you down to the ground and pass your guard and beat you up.
All right, we're in agreement. We're in agreement almost every fight here, I believe, except for 2 of them. I was leaning with Alan Belcher. Yeah, you raised good points there, and we're on different sides of Pickett and Wineland. Let's get to Lozon and Miller. Unfortunately, our good friend Gray Maynard was supposed to be fighting against Joe Lozon. Not happening, obviously, so Miller is in. It's a good fight here. Miller's a favorite here, about the 220 favorite, Frank. 2-1 favorite, seems to be kind of the right number. Lozon seems to be improving. Lozon seems to stand up a little bit better. His aggression, I find. He's much more aggressive in the last year or two. I've noticed Lozon in the octagon. Miller's a workman-like lunch pail type guy.
Yep.
Good at everything, not great at anything, right?
No, but hits you hard, can submit you if he needs to, can take you down, can grind out a decision against you. Lozon stepped up his game because he now believes in his cardio. Before, he kind of had that traditional jiu-jitsu cardio, where I was going to lay around, and within 45 minutes, eventually I'll catch you in something, and it'll be over, and I win. He's really looking at it now. I'm in cardio shape, so I'm going to push the pace.
He used to sort of save it. Now he's like, okay, I'm going to save.
Now it's like,
he's got that, let's do this thing, right?
He goes hard and heavy from the very beginning, and now when he goes,
kind of like what Mike Biles found now. Let's push it like from the beginning,
When you see him jump into a submission, he jumps into the submission. He snaps right into it. There's no time for you to pull your arm out or get your head back up or get your leg away. Obviously, he's caught. And it's like, now what do I do? And then it's too late for you to do anything. And he's in a position now, if you watch his submission game his last couple of fights, when he gets a submission or attempts a submission, he's got one hand free to keep hitting the crap out of you. So even if you're trying to bail out, you're still getting smacked the whole time trying to pull his hand out. Then all of a sudden you're still even more loopy because you're not sure which way he's going to go. I'd like Joe Lozon in this fight, but only if he keeps showing what he's showing. But I think the style of Jim Miller is going to scare him off a little bit. I think Jim Miller is going to kind of like, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm an old-fashioned welder. When we're building the Empire State Building, I get up on there with no safety net, and I'm putting in weldings in with these hydraulic guns.
Miller has no neck.
Yeah, there's nothing
like, how do
you?
Yeah, you're not choking this guy.
Like,
what are you going to choke? Like,
what's going on? How you doing?
Really. I guess he can get his jaw type thing, but it's something to think about, right? Like, there's nothing to grab. Like,
from a guy to win standpoint, I want Joe Lozon to win. If I have to put money down on this line, I'm going to have to bet $220 to get $100 back on.
Got to be on Miller if you're putting money.
I'm putting money down on Miller.
Yeah, it's got to be Miller. I thought Gray Maynard was going to beat Lozon.
Yeah. Well, it's just different style. Like Gray's called a bully for a reason. He bullies me when we compete.
It's funny how, though, I thought Gray would have won, and it's funny because Tim Bosch was going to fight Chris Weidman. And I thought Weidman would have beaten Bosch.
Yep.
So maybe these two guys get canceled opponents and actually get a win when they wouldn't have.
Exactly.
Maybe before. It's funny how that works out. All right, so we got a couple of minutes. Leads us to the main event. Junior Dos Santos and Cain Velasquez. As I mentioned, as I mentioned earlier, Frank, this fight for Cain Velasquez is huge. I mean, he's already fought this guy. So it's been a little bit more than a year. And it was like last November they fought. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit more than a year that they're fighting each other. And if Cain doesn't win, and it's the UFC, I would believe, wants Cain to win this fight.
Yeah.
Get it out of Brazil. Get it back in America. Mexican-American. Not to mention they could have the third fight.
Yeah. Because now it's the road match.
Because now, okay, what happens now if Cain loses? He's out of the mix, and then it's like, oh dear God! All right, we got Overeem and Verdum, and nothing.
If Cain loses, we're talking 2 years, 4 to 5 fights before he's back in the hunt again. And got to have some injuries and some replacements. It could accelerate. But the reality of it is, you fought him in November, you fought him again a year and a month later in December, and you lose twice in a row.
And he could kill everybody else.
And it's like, why can't have it again?
But he could beat everybody else in the division. Like maybe Overeem is an exception. Maybe, but I'm just stating like
that's a flip-flop too. Like you're never sure which one that's going to go. I really think this is a big important fight for Cain, but I think Cain this one comes out a lot smarter. Last time he fought, just came off the shoulder injury, wasn't fully healed, had a bad knee, had whatever.
Don't think he fully respected Junior stand-up as much.
No, not at all. And now
he knows.
Let's see. If I remember, I'm sorry, folks at home, if I'm wrong. JDS is 15-1, and the only loss that Junior Santos lost is the guy that it was a rematch to a guy, and he lost down in Brazil at some other organization. And then Cain is 10-1, and his only loss is to JDS. So this is like both guys are coming in with one loss. It's a big deal. Both these guys are fresh, hungry, want to make it happen. If Cain keeps on the outside, makes JDS get tired, wait to the second round, wait to the third round, then start accelerating the pace when JDS is kind of keep it at 80%, now push it to 90% in the third, push it to 95% in the fourth, you'll see JDS start to fall apart because Cain has that grinding style and go and go and go and go. And as he's doing this, he's going to get little small peppering shots. If he wants to make it a brawling shot, JDS knocks him out in the first round again. He's got to get moving, get on his bike, run a little bit around, take him down when he can the first couple of rounds to win the rounds, win every round on the way up to it, but in the third round, accelerate when JDS starts to slow down a little bit, get his timing down, understand how to get inside and get out before he gets hit a lot. Honestly, Cain can win this fight relatively easily. Can win it 3 rounds to 2, and if it goes to the decision, but I think he can finish him off in the 4th or 5th round.
Now, I heard an interesting story about Cain Velasquez that nobody knows. All right, this is like behind-the-scenes type of stuff. That basically, Cain beat the crap out of everybody in high school and in college, basically, except there's one dude. There's one guy, and I guess this guy's like basically a nobody right now. But
and he's coming through.
He beat Cain twice.
Yeah. And
I guess Cain was obsessed with this guy. And you and I have talked about this in the past. The mental block. That mental block is, and that's what I wonder about Cain. Does Cain go in there thinking last time was a fluke? Or does he go in there thinking, man, I'm scared to get hit in the head again by this guy?
It could be. It depends on how you handle it. Obviously, we've all seen my Matt Hughes fights. I mean, if not, just wait a few minutes. He'll be pounced up in the head again. And it's like you get to that mental block. And I'm a just as good athlete as at prime. Both of us at the same time at prime. We competed. I was the same athlete, had better technique, had a better skill. Matt was mentally tougher than I was, and he beat me twice. Mentally tougher. That's where I lost, was the mental game. He won, I lost. That's how it works. Cain's in that same boat.
I'm thinking it's almost that GSP thing that people say about GSP, but I don't buy. The GSP is going to lose because he's scared to lose. But that's what motivates him. He's scared to lose, so it gets him. So I think that's what people are thinking about Cain.
You notice with GSP that now he talks about being scared to lose. I'm scared to lose.
Yeah.
I have butterflies, and it was the most eloquent thing I've ever seen any champ ever say. I'm sure Anderson Silva said something just as eloquent, but it was in Brazilian and Portuguese. I couldn't understand it. So when GSP is talking about the butterflies, of course I'm nervous. Of course I'm scared. I have to be scared. But the whole object is to take the butterflies in my stomach as they're gurgling around and make them float out of my mouth in perfect formation. And that's what Cain has to do, is make all that nervousness, all that scared come out of his mouth in perfect formation to make it work at one time, what you saw GSP do against Carlos Condit.
Yeah.
Because GSP realized that was his flaw. We weren't just talking about it like it was a fictional flaw. It was a flaw in his armor. He went and fixed it. Hopefully Cain did the exact same thing. Went and saw, mental help, whether it was with a sports coach or talking to someone, whatever it was, to get him through this obsession that he had, the same thing in high school and college, to get him through this whole game, because that's the one game that no one really understands as a fighter is the mental game, because it's so different for each guy. I think Cain has dealt with it. I think Cain will be better this time around, but we'll only know it if he wins and how he wins.
Yeah, you know what? Can Cain Velasquez, the mentally, I think Cain's going to be fine. And I almost think that there's somewhat, because I think Cain had never lost before when he fought Dos Santos.
No,
as you mentioned.
he's got that one loss out of the way.
So he never lost. The biggest time he ever got rocked was Chick Congo.
Yeah.
Chick Congo, actually, remember? And Cain stumbled back, and it was like, oh, my God, like, what's going on here?
Yeah, his eyes got big as
saucers.
saucers.
The only time he ever really got rocked. So I don't think Cain fully had the respect of Junior's hands. I think Cain thought, because Cain wasn't himself in that fight. Cain has the best cardio, arguably, in the UFC, let alone in the heavyweight division.
Yeah, even out of the 125 pounds.
So, why would you go face-to-face and slug with a guy in the first minute of a fight that you know that's all he has, basically?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Cain did, because I think Cain thought, hell, I might tag him.
Yeah.
So he got caught in the ear, in the temple or whatever, type the side of the head, that equilibrium, he got knocked out. I think Junior might be the one that's a little confident now, thinking, man, and he's not going to say this, but to himself, I mean, you're a fighter, Frank, must be thinking, I already knocked this guy out.
Yeah,
I'm going to do it again, like I knock everybody else out.
Yep.
And he's going to be thinking, take me down. Nobody's taking me down. And if he does, I'll get up.
Yeah.
So Dos Santos talking about, I could beat the Klitschko's. I'm going to have the belt forever. And he's already calling out Overeem. I don't know. I think Dos Santos might not be respecting Cain as much as he should this time around. And this is just my theory. I'm just speaking out loud.
I kind of agree with your theory from what I've seen in the reports. And I mean, obviously, we're not staying at his house with him. We don't know what he's really doing at night and all that stuff. But from what we're seeing on the internet, what we're reading in the reports and the interviews he's doing, I'm getting the same feeling too. And really, the Overeem fight between Cain and Overeem is a flip-flop, and the Overeem fight between Overeem and JDS is a flip-flop. So it's like you're not really sure who's going to win any one of those fights and how that whole mix gets together. So for JDS to be throwing himself out there, looking past Cain, it's a little silly. Like, Cain really needs to get in that space and really figure out, I got to go hard and heavy right now and just deal with Cain and worry about everything else after. Take the book out of GSP, because we were talking about him earlier.
Yeah.
I'm worried about Carlos Condit right now. I'm not worried about Anderson Silva. I worry about Anderson Silva if and when I beat Carlos Condit. JDS is worried about Cain Velasquez, then worried about anybody else after Cain Velasquez. Cain is only worried about JDS. That's all he's worried about right now. JDS is worrying about beating the Klitschko's. He's worrying about beating Overeem. He's already moving along. It makes no sense to be even talking about that stuff.
So who's your pick? Who's your pick? Who's going to be the heavyweight champion on Saturday
I'm laying
night?
on Cain. I love Cain. I love his wrestling style. I love his aggressiveness. I love the reports I'm getting about him coming out of AK. How much harder he's training for this one. How much more he's paying attention to the other the rest, the recovery, the food. He's a heavyweight. He doesn't have to make weight. But thinking about what he's putting into his body, looking at the fuel he's going to have to use, I love what he's becoming as a man in MMA. I'm taking Cain in this one.
Yeah, this is put the women and children to bed, so to speak, for this one. This is the big boy stuff here.
Yeah.
You get Dos Santos and Velasquez throwing it down in there. All right, Frank, all the best. Great stuff. Really enjoyed the program this evening. All the best to you and yours, and
thank you.
Have a happy New Year.
Well, hopefully I'll see you guys in the New Year, but it's all up to this guy. So send a bunch of emails telling you want me back next year, too.
Yeah, those suits are expensive.
It costs a lot of money.
It's hard to keep up, but no, we'll be back. We'll be back.
Beautiful.
Somewhere.
Someplace.
Somewhere.
We'll be back.
But we'll be back. All right. Speaking of we'll be back, we will be right back.